Hello everyone, DriftingNitro here, back with another quick tutorial. Just a short one about how to create briefing files. I've been getting some questions in some of my missions about how I managed to get that little briefing tab with information, pictures, and marker links that show up when you're in the game. So we're going to be going over that, and also going to be sharing a template that I've created here that explains all the different commands that you can use. So we're going to start by going down this file here. This is the Diary.sqf. This is a filled out version of it. I've copied it here just for clean sake. This is what the template will look like when you download it. So right now we have, just starting from the top down, like all code, with the if has interface, make sure that you're a player and wait until you're in the game. Comment it out is that information. Mainly just tells you the different types of commands you can use. Now, just like any script file, it basically references a variable, so referencing the player. You want the player to create the diary record, and the diary record refers to the tabs inside the map, and you want to refer to diary, which will default to the briefing tab, and then this is the subcategory that will come up in that briefing tab. And everything in between these quotations here is what will actually come up in the game when you select the tab. For the most part, that's really it. Briefing files are fairly simple. Something else you also have to remember is that you do need to use this bit of code to make new lines. Using enter in the notepad does not actually create the new line. You do have to use the BR. Now, if you're looking just to add text, then it's fairly simple. You know that you have words, so you'll have already written these words somewhere else on a Word document or something. You just want to implement them in, and just remember that the pressing enter does not actually create this many lines. Now, obviously, the tag up here has multiple possibilities for color, size, and face. Face is the type referenced here. And just sort of retroactively, I've added the font types here. There's a list of font types, and I've also put a link to an image that will show you here what the specific fonts look like. And everything in between there and the end of that tag, or the slash font, is the actual text. So we're going to copy this just for an example. We are going to put down here, why not? Now, if you're looking for finding what color, this is a color format called hex. If you're looking to pick a color, you can use this site, which I'll just link right here. As well, I'd select any color from here or any shade over on the side here. For now, why don't we just pick a light blue? So we're going to replace that color code there simply by copying the numbers. The hashtag does have to be there, but you obviously don't need to copy it. Size can be changed as well. If you're wanting to do a header or some kind of title text, you can up it to 18. And of course, we have the font type, so we can go back to our handy image here and see which one we want. Let's pick the Tahoma B. I like that one. It's a bold font, and for a title, it's exactly what we want. So for additional intel, let's drone pictures. We'll put some pictures underneath it. So right now we have a light blue text at size 18 in the Tahoma B font that says drone pictures. And then after this, none of the font after this will be in this format. It'll go back to default format. Now, if you want to only do some things and not others, you can remove face, in which case it'll just be the color and size. You can remove size, in which case it'll just be the color. Or you can do them in any order. Size can be before color. Face can be before size. You can only have it change the face, or only have it change the size, or only have it change the color. It doesn't matter. Just make sure that it says font first, that you have a space in between, you have the single quotations, and then anything after that has a space, and that you end the changes you want to make with that end caret on the end of the tag. And then the close tag is also there after it's applied to all the text that you want it to be applied to. So, just like said before, we're going to make a new line here. So we're just going to do that. That counts as our new line. And you always have to do this as a new line. And since it's a head, I'm going to make it do 2 new lines. So there's a double spacing from the head. Now let's see if we can find a picture here that maybe I want to use. Now we're going to edit an image, and we're going to be going a bit off topic here because we're going to have to be opening an image editing program in order to make it fit properly. So I'm going to be opening with Photoshop, which I use for all of my briefing picture purposes, simply because I can get it down to the exact size that I need it to be. Now since this is too big, this won't fit inside the frame that displays the briefing. We're going to have to make something much smaller. So we're going to go here. We're going to create a new frame for, let's say, 360 by 360. This is the type of size that you're going to need in order to fit in that briefing frame, considering that that briefing frame is only going to be so big and it cannot be resized. Also, it has no scroll bar, so if it does go off the frame, you can't see it. It's just too big. So we're going to basically only take the part of the image that we want to see. So there, the 2 snipers and the piece of armor looks like over there. So we got an op4 armor and op4 infantry. And we're just going to save as a JPEG. You can also save as a PAA, but you really don't need to. Just name briefing image 1. And we'll come back to this later. Also doesn't need to be quite that much. Save your file size. Don't make your mission files too big. Don't use too many pictures. So now we got our image. We're going to be using the image tag that we got over here. We got our 2 new lines. Say drone picture. The name of our image was briefing image 1 dot JPEG. And that will put the image 2 lines below the heading. Now that's all fine and dandy, but what happens when you want to put maybe a link that puts the cursor on the map over to where that is so people know where it is? Well, that's not so hard, as you can take this link up here, this modifier. Now what this does is it says the marker name is. So the marker it's referring to, we'll just call it marker. You can make it whatever name as long as it's the name of the marker. I'm going to name the marker marker, obviously. And the text that is the link. And now this works like a hyperlink where you have the blue underline under it and it just says something different, but it links to the actual URL. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say image 1 coordinates and then /marker to end that tag. So that way any other text I put back here is not like that. And that's mainly the gist of it. The rest of it is just having all the information you want, putting 2 more line breaks, so type whatever information you want, and obviously do line breaks wherever you want. And obviously most of that will just come from writing the information. I definitely recommend writing the information before you start putting out the document. Try to get all the information you can out in text, and then supplement whatever you can with the images and the marker links and all that. We have to go back and make all the double quotations that were inside of the text part of the file. So everything from the, this first quotation to this last quotation. Make sure that it is single quotations only. So now that we're done with that, we're going to save this. And now we're going to go to Libraries, Documents, Arma 3 Other Profiles, your profile. And you are going to save to the, oh hey, briefing test. I wonder how that got there. We're going to save it called Diary.sqf and make sure that you have it set to old types. So that way you use the custom extension. Now we're not out of it yet because we still need 1 more file. In order to do this right, we still need this file called Initplayerlocal.sqf, and it has to be named Initplayerlocal.sqf because the game will recognize that file name and say that this script is to be run on the player locally when starting the game or joining that server or match. We're going to save this. We're going to save this to the same directory as our mission. And remember again, .sqf all types. What this does is make sure that if you're not the server and if you're not in the game yet, then wait until you're in the game to launch the Diary.sqf or the briefing script. I almost forgot, make sure that you also save the briefing image inside of the mission directory. So the mission directory that you have everything else should all be in here. This is your workspace. This is where all your files are. You have all three if you're using an image. If you're not using an image, then you only need two. And now we're in game. So there's a couple things that need to be recognized here. One is we need to place down the marker named marker. Now it is a good idea just to make a marker that's empty, so that way it just brings the cursor over it. You can use any other marker named marker. You can use a square, a circle, and it must be a marker. There are other scripts you can do to make markers move, like with vehicles, in order to make it so whenever they click on it, it goes to the marker wherever it is at that point in time, but that's more complicated. So we're going to save. We're going to preview. And while this loads, I guess I'll talk to you about the image files. They act a bit weird if you try changing the image with the same name. You have to change the name of the image if you change the image, because otherwise it'll keep reading that same image from the cache and it won't load the new one because it'll already have loaded the first one. So if you change an image or you edit an image, you got to change the name of it too. So here we are in our briefing tab. We see here that we have under the additional intel, we have our text that we put in our header font with the special font and the color. We have the image, which we put in here. And as you can see, this is the frame I was talking about. This frame cannot get any bigger. And if anything goes off this frame, you can't see it. So it's best to keep things 360 wide. Now we also have our link here. And what the link to the marker does, now that we've put down the marker named marker, is it goes over to it and then it zooms in. And if you had another marker, if you actually had an actual marker here, it would show up. But since we put an empty marker, it just goes to that empty space. And then we got our normal text here with our normal text breaks. As you can see, it goes to the end of the sentence. I put a BR there, it goes text break. And also, as you can see here, it has the double space there, has the double space between the picture and the link. Now, something to keep in mind is that links cannot be images. This one is an image, just a regular image. This one is trying to use the image within the marker link space. It doesn't work. Drone picture. Now what this is you also can't format marker links. Marker links must be default text format. Otherwise, they will not work. So you can't format those to be a special size, color, or font, and you can't make the marker links an image, unfortunately. Now, something to note is that the tabs come up this way for a specific reason, and I'm going to go back to the file and I'm going to show you why. Now, what you may have thought originally is, well, why is that significant the way it was read? Well, as you can tell, additional intel was at the bottom, even though it was at the top here. And the reason why is that it stacks from the top down. So it reads the additional intel, it reads all this, and it says, all right, put that in the briefing tab. Then it puts this one on top of it and says, it reads all that, and then puts it all in that tab. And then so on and so on and so on and so on. So if you want the top tab to be the mission info, then you have to make it read it last on the file. A little bit confusing, but once you get the hang of it, you'll see why. And, worst case scenarios, you have to copy this and copy it to a different part of it if you want it to be somewhere in the middle, top, bottom, or so on. So the order of information reads backwards in terms of height. So that is all in terms of briefing files. Thank you for watching, and looking forward to seeing you guys put some excellent in-game briefings, so that way, best case scenario, people can read briefings to missions when they're late, or read them on their own after they join the game, sit down and have something to do. It always seems to be really helpful and also immersive for people who are looking to make their missions more polished and robust, and really give it the full potential that it can have. So thank you for watching. See you next time. DriftingNitro out.